It's a brilliant mac and cheese recipe that's going to take you 30 minutes to make. The best part about it is the kids are going to come back for seconds every single time. The thing that I love about this dish is it's really, really simple and quick to cook. It's very important when you come home from work, you don't want to spend hours feeding those kids. So the first thing I have on here is my lovely big pot of boiling water like we always have for pasta. We're going to add some nice olive oil and we're going to season it up with a generous amount of salt. So literally, the time that it takes me to cook this pasta, I'll have my nice little sauce ready. So I'm using nice macaroni pasta, which are basically like little elbows. So in they go. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to stir that pasta. What this does is it ensures that we don't have any of those horrible big lumps of pasta. It'll all be nicely evenly distributed. So now that that's starting to boil, we're going to go ahead and make our sauce. Now to make that sauce, I'm using a fantastic blend of 4 different cheeses. I've got some nice Emmental, I've got a nice bit of sharp cheddar, some nice fresh Parmesan, and to finish it all off, a lovely bit of Fontina. Now those 4 cheeses are going to give a lovely blend and a nice cheesy texture to that mac and cheese that we're really looking for. So what we want to do is start our pot on a nice medium heat. Now we're going to use 2/3 of our butter, and we're also going to add nearly all our cream. We want to keep a little bit back, which we're going to use for a glaze later on, but literally just that much, just a tiny little bit. Now at the same time, you always want to keep that pasta moving. Very, very important that it always moves around. So we're just going to wait for that to come to the boil and thicken slightly before we start adding all those wonderful cheeses. So you can really see that that cream, after about 2 minutes, is starting to come to the boil now. That's the perfect time to start adding our lovely cheeses. And you need to just keep it moving around because you don't want those cheeses to stick to the bottom. So in goes that nice sharp cheddar. And what the cheeses do is they act as a fantastic thickening agent. And when they all get into that cream and heat up and the pasta mixes in there, you're going to have that lovely stringy, cheesy texture that all those kids love in macaroni. So just keep it moving very nicely like that. And we're not too far off now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that off the heat because there's actually enough heat left in there to melt those cheeses. The last thing we want is that cheese sticking to the bottom of the pan. So just keep it stirring. And once it becomes nice and smooth, I'm going to add one last secret ingredient that really gives the macaroni a very distinct flavour, and that's some fresh nutmeg. So in that goes, and we just bring it together. And now we're ready to combine that with all that lovely pasta and make our actual macaroni. So now that our sauce is made, our pasta's just coming to the boil nicely. That's been going for about 9 minutes. So I think that's perfectly ready to strain. So over here we have our strainer ready. In it goes. Be very, very careful that you don't burn yourself at this stage. So once that's strained off, the pasta goes back in. We have our great cheese sauce that's all ready to go, and we pour that in on top. In that goes, and then we'll just bring it together. There's one last thing that I want to add, and that's a couple of nice twists of freshly ground pepper. So once that's ready, mix it up again. And we're going to get it into our lovely baking dishes. With a little bit of butter that we had left over, we're just going to grease up, making sure that your hands are nice and clean. Just run the butter all the way around there, and that's going to ensure that none of this lovely cheesy macaroni sticks to the bottom of these dishes. So those are greased up, and we'll just split that between the two. And you can really see that it's a lovely consistency, and by the time it's finished in the oven, you'll have those lovely crispy little cheese bits that all the kids are mad about. And we're ready to do one last thing, which is make a lovely little glaze, and then we'll pop them in the oven. So to make that little glaze, I've got the rest of the cream that I didn't use earlier on. I'm just going to pour it in. And then I need a nice fresh egg. So once the egg's in there, I'll just give it a little whisk. And what's going to happen here is the cream and that lovely egg yolk is going to coat the top, and when that goes into the oven, it's going to brown up really nicely and give us that nice crispy crust that we associate with macaroni. So that's come together nicely, and just using my nice pastry brush, I'm going to brush the top of it. Be very generous with it, because this really is the best part of macaroni. So nice and generous over the top. And once that's finished, I'm going to pop that into my broiler or grill for about 5 or 6 minutes so as we get all those lovely crispy bits, and then that'll be it, ready to serve. Fantastic macaroni.